This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
But of course, I want to talk about the market here, Dave, because we've seen wild swings in stocks so far this year. And when things get volatile, how risky is it to try and time the market? We've heard of that before, right? People trying to time the market. Well, wealth advisor Lawrence Sprung tells Yahoo Finance that you don't have to look that far to find out.
If you look at it, most down and up days are clustered together. Since 2000, if you invested in just the S&P, you averaged 9.8% return. But if you just miss the 10 best days over that period, just 10 days, your return goes to a negative 12.5%.
And that's on an annual basis.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So trying to time things and going in and out, it's not that fruitful, especially most people are not professional traders that they can time that really effectively.
Yeah, I would think to do something like that, you got to be a professional, not just somebody. It's kind of like rolling the dice, right? You don't know what you're going to get. So why is market timing even more dangerous, Dave, for someone close to retirement rather than somebody maybe, let's say, in their 30s?
Well, market timing is always very difficult, but near retirement, it can become financially destructive. So when you're in your 30s, obviously your biggest asset when it comes to time and accumulating money is time. You have a lot more years ahead of you to absorb some of the volatility and maybe some costly mistakes along the way. So volatility obviously feels uncomfortable, but time is on your side. So you're contributing, you're compounding. A downturn is often a temporary detour. Now, retirement flips that equation when you get very close or if you're in retirement. So now you're drawing, you're not contributing. That means if markets drop and you sell investments to create your income or generate your income, you're locking in your losses permanently. You're selling more shares at a reduced price. There's no new paycheck replenishing what you just removed. And so that's what we call sequence of returns risk. So in the early years, that's your danger zone. So if you're relying on a market-sensitive investment plan to create your paycheck, and you have to sell in a down market, you're selling off more shares to create that same paycheck that you took the month before. And so think about that. If you're doing that and it happens early in retirement, you're going to prematurely deplete your nest egg in a very short period of time. And I've seen this. And this is one of the things we teach our clients when they become clients, what we're trying to build a plan to eliminate from happening, because your income distribution plan is key. And you have to have your money in the right places so you don't have to sell off shares, because when you're selling off shares, what are you doing? You're killing the goose that's laying your golden eggs very slowly, but it's going to happen at an expedited pace if you are experiencing frequent market drops. I saw this with a couple that we worked with not too long ago, and they retired in a strong market year and they felt confident, but when volatility hit shortly thereafter, they panicked and pulled their money out aggressively. And had they not reached out to us and we stepped in, we designed and restructured their income planning, and we used different tools, income tools instead of growth tools, that early emotional decision could have shortened the retirement by years if they didn't really reach out to us for us to create a much better solution that was more predictable, better aligned with their income needs, because poor returns late in retirement are inconvenient, but early retirement can permanently weaken your plan. That is a very important thing that people really have to understand, and that's why income planning is so critical. And we get so many calls from people that have retired and they're still struggling with creating that paycheck, because it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to create your own paycheck instead of having somebody, your employer, pay you. So instead of trying to guess when to get it in and out of the market, we design personalized strategic income distribution plans so you don't have to worry about the market.
David, so when you talk about creating those personalized strategic income plans, that is a really fancy way of saying, hey, when you sit down with Dave, he's going to tell you how you can create that paycheck and pay yourself in retirement, right? It's all about those income tools, creating a paycheck in retirement so that you don't have to gamble in the market. You don't have to gamble to create your retirement. Is that what you're talking about here?
Right. A proper retirement income strategy removes the need to be right about your timing of investing in the market, because the goal isn't about maximizing returns. It's about sustaining income. And that's the key. You go from a growth objective in your working years, you're accumulating money. You don't need income because you're working and you have that paycheck. But now when you gravitate into retirement, the objective for your finances goes from growth to income, and an income that's sustainable for as long as you live, adjusted for inflation and taxes. That's where the real challenge comes with a lot of people trying to plan in the retirement to create that income, because we're going to use many tools that a lot of the folks we deal with never heard of. Alternative income investments, income plans, because you're going to have the structure of your money in different areas for different specific purposes, right? You'll have a dedicated income bucket that's not tied to the daily swings of the market. So it's very predictable cash flow. We'll have diversified asset income tools that have different roles to also supplement your income for different income needs. Then we'll have cash for short-term and unexpected things, so you can get your hands on money that we always have surprises, right? So you have to be kind of flexible in your income plan, but have it aligned with your income needs and objectives, short-term and long-term.
But again, it all comes back to, removing that risk in the market, right? Giving you that reward of it's not what you have, it's what you keep, and creating that income in retirement. If you're wondering, how can I create income when that paycheck stops from the 9 to 5? How do I make sure that I'm not going to run out of money and essentially pay yourself? This is where Dave comes in. Allow him to put, again, his nearly 40 years of experience to work for you. When you call today, say, hey, Dave, I want to do an income challenge with you. I want you to show me how you can create income in retirement that I'm going to get just like I used to get a paycheck at that 9 to 5. Give a call today for that income challenge. That phone number, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. Going back to what you talked about here, relying on the market to create your paycheck in retirement, not the best idea. Essentially, you're gambling with your retirement. You can kind of do that when you're younger. You have time to make things up. If you're close to retirement, not so much. You mentioned this couple that came in and you said they retired in a strong market. I want to dispel maybe some myths here or concerns for people. So, is it okay to retire in a strong market? A lot of people would think, yes, everything's, sunshine and rainbows. Let's do it. But what about if there's a lot of volatility in the market like we've currently seen? Is this kind of the opportunity to say, hey, maybe not yet. Let's wait till the market figures out if it's up or down. And then, of course, retiring in a down market, is that a bad decision? Does it matter where the market is to make the decision to retire?
Not really. What we always want to do is before people actually retire, if we have folks that reach out to us before they make that decision, what we're always going to do is we're going to actually put a plan together. If we don't do anything different, we're going to forecast into the future, run your numbers, look into the future, adjust your spending goals and needs to inflation and taxes to see if there are problems that lie ahead. And those problems might be, maybe we see that you do run out of money, or you're paying too much in tax, or you can't sustain at a certain inflation factor if inflation gets to a certain level where you will run out of money. And so when we see this, and then we do an investment portfolio analysis, that analysis, by looking into the future with what you're doing today, gives us some answers, and answers that are good or bad. So we can see if your numbers are going to work out. And if not, we're also going to look at your investment plan strategy that you're currently operating under to see if your investments are truly aligned with the benefits that your plan shows us you're going to need to create to make it all work. And we find that your investment plan is not aligned with your retirement plan, especially when it comes to income planning. And so now we can show people the investment analysis, how much risk they're exposed to, what kind of returns they're truly getting, and show them how a proactive, tactical money management plan better aligns with their financial plan, because we see what we need to create, and we can show folks how to create, in many cases, a lot more yield and income without selling off shares like we were just talking about. And so it leaves more of their other dollars to be positioned for longer term objectives. But the whole key is to align your investments with what your planning benefits and needs call for. And you can't get to that place if you don't do the forecast analysis. And so I think this is an exercise I think folks that are listening to us should go through with us. And we do this complimentary. We talk about the portfolio analysis all the time. And that's a great step forward to see if people are truly invested in the right places for their planning objectives.
And the best part is that if you'd like to sit down with Dave one-on-one, do that portfolio analysis, do this forecast analysis, guys. Let's make sure that you're in the right spot right now and it's lining up, your financial plan's lining up with your retirement plan, right? The left hand's got to know what the right hand's doing as well and find that balance. Dave will help you do that today. Again, for this complimentary portfolio analysis and this forecast analysis, call today, 203-872-0009. 203-872-0009. That website, of course, masteringyourwealthradio.com. Listen, I am guilty of this. I know a lot of folks are as well. They say, I'm never going to be able to retire. I'm going to work till I die, or Social Security won't be there for me. What am I going to do? It's just doom and gloom when they think about retirement. Well, according to a new survey by TIAA, nearly 2/3 of Americans say retiring between the ages of 65 and 70 is just unattainable. They say they plan to work until they physically cannot. So what's their number one reason? Well, apparently it's replacing the guaranteed income that their job provided, right? I'm talking about that paycheck because Social Security just isn't enough. So for our listeners, maybe they've saved and saved and saved, but they don't think it's enough, Dave. What do you say to them?
Well, this speaks directly to something we see every week, very often. People just don't want savings. They really want to replace income. That's what they're looking for, income replacement. And as we were just talking a short while ago, income planning is the key to a successful retirement, and people struggle with trying to find ways to create that income from their resources with any level of predictability or high enough yield so they don't run into the situation where they might be depleting principal over time. So there's a huge psychological difference between watching a portfolio balance fluctuate when you're in your income payout phase and knowing a paycheck will arrive on the 1st and 15th of every month. That's what people are accustomed to when they're working, right? So the TIA study shows 92% of people want guaranteed income beyond Social Security. That tells you this isn't just about wealth. It's about certainty, right? Mm-hmm. People like certainty. They want to know they don't have to worry about where their income and their paycheck's coming from every month. So, a couple I worked with a little while back, they had exactly this issue. They saved diligently all their lives, worked very hard, and on paper they felt fine. They felt they were all set financially. But emotionally, the husband just felt he didn't feel they had enough. And so we ran their analysis. We did their forecast like we just talked about. And they're going to make it if they didn't make any crazy mistakes along the way as far as how they managed their money. But what he meant was he didn't feel that what they were currently doing was predictable. And so what we did was redesign their investment plan strategies so we can create better yields from alternative income tools and some guaranteed payout tools that had very high distribution rates, much better than they were getting from what they were doing with their current managed account. So their Social Security was their foundation of their plan. Then we structured some guaranteed income for the essential expenses at very good lifetime high payout rates, which was very good in their mind. They got the predictability they were looking for with that component of their plan. And then we had investments left over that we could position for growth and flexibility and create other value of benefits later in life, such as inflation hedges, maybe some discretionary spending, some of the unpredictable things that might come up. They could use those resources for that. And once their core expenses were covered by dependable income, retirement suddenly felt possible, not theoretical. And so annuities can come into the conversation, and they can be a good fit in a situation like that where people want some more guaranteed predictability. It's not magic, but because we can create income that mimics the paycheck people are afraid of losing, we can fill that void with guaranteed payout annuities. And so the goal isn't to invest everything into an annuity. We just need to see what component of their overall plan creates that benefit to fill that income guaranteed gap that people might be looking for or need. The goal is to replace the feeling of security. And I see this much too often. People go into retirement with financial anxiety because they don't have clarity of what they're really doing with their money, how it's going to pan out and look into the future. And so when you have a plan in your own numbers, a strategic plan, now the guesswork is out of the equation. The emotions are out of the equation, and now we can make decisions and help clients make decisions rationally and logically based on the details of data, and that's key.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims-paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure of the ADV 2A Item 4 for additional information.